your Ibanez tremolo arm won't stay where you want it and it's making your lead playing extremely difficult. Don't worry, because in this video I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step process on fixing that wonky trem arm, and make sure you stick around to the end so you can figure out how to do it for cheap. Alright, this is the axe. Let's go! Hey y'all, welcome back to the Axe Guitar Channel, your one-stop shop for tremolo tips and tricks. So if you're out there and you have an Ibanez tremolo with a pop-in arm, chances are that while you've been playing, you've noticed the arm over time will go from where you want it and will just kind of let gravity decide where it wants to go, and it'll just kind of hang down. And then when you go to use it during your lead playing, it's not where you left it. Don't worry, you're not alone. This is actually a really common problem, and the actual design of these pop-in arms on these Ibanez trims actually contributes to these getting loose over time, and they just have to be replaced, and that's what we're going to do today. So speaking of design, the Ibanez Edge or Edge variants that use a pop-in system use these little white plastic bushings on the tremolo arm that provide friction, and friction is what keeps it in place in the tremolo arm assembly and from rotating around excessively. So being that these bushings are plastic and the mechanism keeping the trem arm in place is friction, put two and two together, they wear away, right? There's some pros and cons to this design. I mean, the pro is that it's easily fixable, so it's something that, like, you know, if you had a stripped union nut or something like that, you'd have to replace it. So it's a little better in that sense, but it's a con because you probably have to do this several times over like a tremolo's life cycle. Just some things before we get started. I'm gonna be doing this demonstration on an Ibanez Original Edge, but these fixes and a lot of this stuff should apply but not be limited to the following bridges: the Edge Pro 7, Edge 7, Edge 2, and Low Pro Edge. Okay, before we get started, let's talk about two things to not do or mess with when fixing the over-rotating pop-in tremolo arm on these Ibanez bridges. When this occurs, many players are itching to fix this problem themselves, and so they start tinkering with parts of the actual whole tremolo arm assembly or different parts of the trem, which is bad news. So let's start with number one, the tremolo height screw. All right, go ahead and flip your guitar over, look through the rear cavity, and locate the tremolo arm assembly. What I mean by that is where the tremolo arm actually goes into the bridge. You can see a really small screw here. Now don't mess with that because, well, one, it won't fix your problem of a loose, over-rotating trem arm, and two, it's meant for really small adjustments on the actual tremolo arm height and how far it comes out of the bridge. It really acts as like a backstop for the trem arm. Either way, don't mess with it. This will not fix your problem. And number two of the things to not mess with is the securing mechanism of the trem arm assembly onto the base plate of the tremolo. While still looking in the rear cavity, you can see a very, very thin nut that's screwed up against the base plate of the tremolo. Loosening this will loosen the entire trem arm assembly, and then not only will you have an over-rotating trem arm, you'll have a trem assembly that's just loose altogether, and that's not going to be great. So flipping the guitar back over, so now you're looking at the front side, the hole where the tremolo arm actually goes into, there's a flathead screwdriver fitting that rims the outside there. This is the other half of what secures the trem arm assembly to the base plate along with that thin nut that's on the back side. Do not mess with this. This is there. If it's tight, it's good to go. Do not mess with it because you don't want to loosen up the whole assembly, and then we have another problem. All right, with all of that out of the way, I think we're ready to fix our loose, over-rotating Ibanez pop-in tremolo arm. So let's go to the workbench. Come on. All right, so we made it here to the workbench. We have the Ibanez RG550 here with the original bridge. I have the tremolo arm in the trem right now. So we're ready to get started. So since we're just messing with the tremolo arm, there's really no need to actually take the whole trem off the guitar. Okay, so the materials you're gonna need to get started are, one, the replacement bushings, and you can see those right here. These are Ibanez branded, and make sure you stick around to the end because I'm gonna show you how to get these just a little bit cheaper because they're pretty expensive online at different places. And then next, I use a flathead screwdriver that's really, really small to get under the clamps of the bushings. That's just what I use. You can really probably use anything. Even if you had longer fingernails, you could probably pry them off. But just use something to kind of get under there to assist you in popping these bushings off. So the first thing I like to do is just at least block off the trim with one of these trim blocks, just a little bit, just for some stability, for taking the trim arm off. And then now pulling this bad boy off, just pull it up and out. Boom, there we go. And then you can see there the bushings that we're going to replace. Let's see if we can get a good shot of that. There we go. So yeah, these are plastic bushings. Typical Ibanez design, but they do wear over time. Like I said, there's pros and cons to it. But let's take these off because this is what's going to help you from having your whammy bar like rotate and get out of place. So you can see here, these are the actual bushings. They kind of slip around. You can tell this one's actually kind of been worked a little bit. It's really loose on there. So then what we just need to do is use this kind of hole right here, this score, and pull this off. And I'll show you how I do this. I just use my fingernail and this flathead screwdriver. All right, what I like to do is like kind of hold on to this bad boy, because once you pop the bushing off, it'll probably go flying. And then just stabilize with one of your nails here, just on one of the sides of the split, and then use your flathead to just pop it off. And it's it's really that simple. There we go. And then this is what it looks like without the bushings on it. All right, so now that we have those old bushings off, we just got to put the new ones on. I recommend when you put the new ones on that you keep the tremolo arm on a hard surface or just the flat working surface, because getting those things on with your hands like this is ridiculously hard. I'll show you how to actually put these on and how I do it. And so let's do that. All right, so we'll open up these bad boys here. Now remember, these are really small, so try not to lose them. There we go. And that's all they really are, just these little plastic bushings. All right, so I just kind of put my tremolo bar just on any surface kind of like this. But what I do is that with these bushings, I actually put my flathead within it to kind of spread it just a little bit. You don't want to do it too much because you don't want the actual grip of the bushing to kind of get loose. But this really helps you put it on. And then that first one's on, just like that. And now we'll do the same thing, just kind of get that ready to get put on. And then these things are really stiff when you first try to put them on, so it might take a couple tries to actually press them, but that's a good thing. And it's on. So we have the two bushings on, ready to go. And then at this point, you can really just pop this back into your trim. All right, so popping this bad boy in right here. Yeah, I can already tell this is a lot like stiffer and harder to push in. All right, I can tell you that thing was really hard to push in. So now we have more friction from the bushings being less worn, and it'll stay in the tremolo arm assembly a lot better. And you can tell I have to move it a lot. There's no swinging. We got some good friction there. All right, guys, so now where to buy these plastic bushings and how to get the best deal. So they are available on Amazon, just like everything, right? For $23 for just two, which $23 for two pieces of like microplastic seems a little ridiculous to me. So my advice is go to Reverb. They have a couple different sellers selling the Ibanez branded bushings, and they're about $13 to $15 for a 4-pack. So go ahead and go that route. There's probably cheaper options out there. If any of you guys know how to get like maybe these cheaper or in bulk, let us know in the comments. All right, guys, so I hope this video helped. Thanks for being up close and personal with this video right in my face as I'm changing this out on the Ibanez Genesis. But, you know, if you could do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe below so you don't miss content like this. It really helps the channel go. And, you know, I'm really lucky to be able to do stuff for such a great community. And I appreciate all your support. All right, guys, I'll catch you later.